Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us today. My name is James Roth. I'm one of the senior solution consultants here with Celigo. I've been spending the past decade plus in the integration space. I started off in the EDI supply chain space, and I transitioned over to Celigo a few years ago to focus on our pre-built e-commerce integration apps, as well as our platform, which will allow you to develop custom application flows for whatever that system may be. It could be a warehouse management system of your own business, or it could be that of a third-party warehouse. We'll show you today some different options on how to communicate with the 3PL. But before we get into the 3PL conversation, let's start with Shopify NetSuite integration app. And then we'll go through the different flows that Ebru had pointed out there on that slide. We'll show you some live data moving with fulfillments, and I'll just show you how a Shopify order makes its way into NetSuite, creating a sales order, and how the fulfillment can be created automatically, and how that fulfillment data goes back to the 3PL. Back to Shopify. And then we would also like to show you our payout to reconciliation flows. We have different payout reconciliation integrations, whether it's Shopify Pay, PayPal, Braintree, etc. So the list goes on. We'll get into that momentarily. So let's jump into the platform. As you can see on my screen, you should see Celigo in the upper left-hand corner. This is our integration platform, also known as an iPaaS. This is going to allow you to connect, integrate, and automate any of your business applications that help run your business and make your business successful with your customers, or maybe with your suppliers or vendors. We have a point-to-point integration app here. It's called an integration app. It's built and managed by Celigo. This would be more of the point-to-point integration that solves probably 80 to 90% of the most common use cases that we see with our customers. And then if you ever needed to supplement the integration, maybe you want to pull company data from Shopify's GraphQL API and update NetSuite customer records, you can do that using our platform. So before I dive into the specific integration app here, I also want to point out the template next to it. Both of these would be available in the marketplace. So within our platform, we give our customers access to the marketplace, or if you signed up for one of our trials, I already searched for NetSuite, but you can search really for any application and you'll find some results, I'm sure. If you click into the NetSuite tile, you'll see all of the pre-built integration apps that we have available in the NetSuite space. And then we also have some templates available within the marketplace, which you can preview and install. So if you want to start working on custom flows, we give you a starting point or a base, to build upon. The integration apps, as you can see, are somewhat locked down. You can't install those right away. You'd have to request a demo. This is just a high-level demo today. We're not going to go too deep into the weeds. We're not going to cover Amazon or eBay. But if you want to take a browse in our marketplace, you'll be able to see those different integration apps, whether they're built by Celigo or perhaps a partner of ours. Right? So here's the Shopify NetSuite integration app. But if you keep scrolling down in the page, you're going to be able to see that we have that Shopify template available. So anything labeled with template, you can go ahead and preview and install that. Okay. As you can see, we do integrations between Google and NetSuite for Google Shopping or Google Sheets. We connect to a lot of the human resource or marketing systems. If you're running HubSpot on your website, you want to bring data from HubSpot directly into NetSuite, right? You can go out here, you can preview the template and you can install the template. And this will give you the list of flows within this template that you can start playing around with. Okay. So just want to let you know, we do have the pre-built point-to-point style integrations, and then the platform is going to allow you to fill the gaps in with any flow that you can think of, really. So we're going to jump back into the home page here, and we'll dig a little deeper into the integration app here for Shopify. When you click into the integration app, you're going to be presented with a list of stores. So however many Shopify stores you're connecting to, you can manage all of those within a single tile or multiple tiles. If you go over 15 stores, we'll recommend switching into a different tile. But every store here that you can see in the dropdown would be accessible. And then you'll have independent settings and flows for that specific store. Okay. If I go into my settings, you can see that we break everything out into neatly organized flow groups. So when you're talking about just general configuration and settings, you're looking at two columns, a NetSuite location column and a Shopify location column. These are just general settings that you would be able to configure through drop downs, right? You're clicking, not coding. And these are pulling from your Shopify and NetSuite instance. So you're not having to type anything in. You're simply going in, selecting the value that you'd like to set. And most of these settings that we're going through are initial implementation settings that you would configure. And then if you ever needed to add a location, it's simple enough to do that here within the UI. Okay, so a lot of the settings are going to be just basic implementation configurations based on your company's needs. If we switch over to the order settings, you'll see that we break down the shipping methods. So there's a basic translation between Shopify and NetSuite. So if on an order, you received the economy ship method from Shopify, well, that ties to my FedEx ship method or ship via in NetSuite. Okay, so basic translation, and then what happens if a match isn't found? Right? You can have a default value, fill in the blank, or you can fail the record altogether, and then you'll be notified with an email, and that would be the trigger to log in here, because it's really a set it and forget it type tool where you'll be able to set a schedule on these flows that I'll introduce you to here momentarily, and then letting those run behind the scenes, right? Jump in if you received an email notification letting you know something failed, maybe a duplicate order occurred or an item mismatch, and you set it to fail the record, all right? So basic settings, and I'm just going to show you what I had configured earlier today, because this is a newer store that I don't usually use on demonstrations. But under the discount settings, you'll be able to configure your discount settings at a header and at an item level. So you'll see that take place today on the order that we're going to show you. Tax settings, Celigo's not tax software, but we are the messenger between NetSuite and Shopify. So we're allowing you to control which is the source of truth for tax. Right? Is it Shopify? Would you like to use the Shopify recorded amounts on the NetSuite order, or would you like to use NetSuite as the tax calculation engine? It's really up to you. You can also include all the tax as a single line item on the order as well. And then you just need to select which item you would like to reference on the order. Okay. So once you have the order settings configured through implementation, you'll start testing orders. Okay. There is a field here that's blank. This is going to allow you to input multiple order IDs from Shopify, and then you'll be able to trigger an order creation flow in real time or on demand in this case. Right? After you're in production, you'll be turning on these flows. Right? These order flows will run automatically. We do have bi-directional functionality with Shopify for orders, fulfillments, cancellations, and refunds. Okay. For customers and orders, if you have customer service, enter a customer or an order in NetSuite, you can have those customers and orders synchronized or pushed out to Shopify so that you're seeing the same data in both places without having to rekey any data points. Okay. The most common use cases that we see with customers using Shopify and NetSuite would be to receive an order on Shopify and then have that order come in to NetSuite as a sales order. This is a flow that I'll click into to just show you how a flow is designed. In this example, we're listening for Shopify orders. There isn't a schedule on this flow. This is a real-time flow listening for a new order being placed on your store. Once an order is detected, the flow will execute. We're getting the order, we're getting fulfillment order information, and then we're posting the orders to NetSuite based on your field mappings that you would be able to define by clicking on that little Poseidon staff. Once you click on that little icon, you're going to be able to see the two columns opened up. And then on the left, the Shopify order fields, and on the right, you'll see the NetSuite order fields. This will already be pre-mapped and ready to go. But if you wanted to, you can go in here and you can add that custom field, right, in NetSuite. So if you wanted to, have a field pull up, I'm trying to think of a field out here that I could use as a custom field. So any of these are going to be custom fields. So if you wanted to write Shopify data to an Amazon field, you can do that, right? Amazon settlement ID in NetSuite. What do you want to put in there from Shopify? Yeah, some kind of identifier, right? Maybe it's the checkout ID. So just like that, I'm handling mapping changes. I'm not a technical user in this instance. Right? I'm just a business user. I know the field names. I can add them here. If you have a technical user that's more entrenched in technical handlebar expressions or scripts, we have those resources available within our platform for those more technical users. Okay, so just wanted to take you through what a little mapping exercise would look like between the different objects that we're talking about. And this is a flow that you would not need to schedule. This will just trigger as soon as an order comes in from a customer on your website. And that way you'll have that sales order, customer and sales order in NetSuite to process that order in a more efficient time. So if I go into my Shopify store, right, we'll go to my orders list, make sure this is the order from today. Yeah, so someone named James Roth went out to my store here and they placed an order for some Celigo coffee mugs. This order automatically triggered into NetSuite, creating a sales order. So I already know it's in NetSuite. I can search for the order using this number, right? The order ID or the transaction ID at the top. I can grab that, or again, 1038. I can go into my NetSuite instance, I can run a search, and there it is, right? There's the sales order. Now this sales order is pending fulfillment, so it hasn't yet gone out to the warehouse, right? Now with warehouses, if it's your own warehouse where you're fulfilling the order, you'll just go through that typical process within NetSuite, right? You would come in, you would click fulfill, right? And you would fulfill the order completely based on the details of the sales order. So we already know who the customer is. We know the ship to address because that came in from Shopify. We know that there are 3 mugs, not 2, my apologies. All of the amounts are matching from the NetSuite order and the Shopify order, right? This proof of concept is my tax line that I've added, but you don't need to set it up that way. I also have the cart discount referenced here as well. Okay. So all of that information here, including the $5, is also applied to the NetSuite sales order. So you have the ship to, the bill to, all of the relevant information. And then there's an e-tail tab added to your NetSuite instance. Once you install the Celigo Shopify NetSuite bundle, you'll be able to go in and see this e-tail tab, which will show you in the order what didn't match. So we're doing a comparison on the amounts. We're going to compare the discount, tax, total, and discount amounts. And if there are any discrepancies between Shopify order and NetSuite sales order, you would see those amounts listed in those fields. All right? And then you can run reports or save searches off that data, maybe put a little dashboard on your homepage. So you can see any order that meets the criteria of having mismatched data. Okay. There's also additional subfields. You wouldn't see Amazon, Walmart, BigCommerce, Magento unless you installed those bundles. If you only installed the Shopify bundle, you'll be able to see the Shopify sub-tab where we're adding additional pieces of information, like the gift card ID that was redeemed. So we can track that ID in NetSuite for you. If Shopify indicated that it was a risky order, you have some settings within the integration app on how to handle that sales order in NetSuite, but we'll also record that risk rating there for you. Okay. So order entry is going to be handled for you automatically between NetSuite. I'm sorry. Well, yes, NetSuite and Shopify, but also Shopify and NetSuite. Shopify and NetSuite integration also will work with your point of sale orders. So if you use point of sale at a trade show, Shopify point of sale at a trade show, or at your physical storefront, we have integration capabilities built into the flows so we can create cash sales instead of orders if the order was already completed and the customer walked out of the store. There's also other settings within the integration app which will allow you to create cash sales in NetSuite from the fulfilled order. So if you did have a 3PL or a third-party warehouse or logistics provider, you would be able to have that 3PL integrated to Shopify, and when there's a flow to grab the Shopify fulfillment into NetSuite. So there's multiple ways in which you can communicate with a 3PL. Most customers that we speak to here at Celigo would recommend treating NetSuite as the source of truth because that is your ERP. So bring all sales orders into the ERP, then release all the orders from the ERP to the appropriate 3PL based on the location. If it's an EDI-enabled 3PL, we can send a 940 warehouse shipping order. If it's a 3PL using 3PL Central as the warehouse management software, we have a direct API connection to 3PL Central. So it's really up to you and your organization and your third-party logistics providers on how you're going to configure these data flows. All right. We have all the bases covered for you. So let's jump into a tile that I created, which allows my NetSuite to communicate to the 3PL, not only for order fulfillment, but also for transfer orders, letting the 3PL know what purchase orders are being sent to them or delivered to their facilities. I have labeled this tile, our 3PL in NetSuite ERP. I click into the tile. Let me just make sure I'm not getting any messages. Okay. When you click into the tile, you'll see that I created 3 flow groups which you're able to do just by clicking on more, create flow group, give it a name. I have customer orders broken out into 2 flows. There could be more. You can even have multiple flow groups tying into inventory and item syncing. All right, we'll focus on orders and fulfillments today, just for the sake of time. You'll see I've labeled the first flow here as NetSuite sales order to 3PL. Again, this is something you would schedule. You wouldn't have to go in here and push a button to play or run the flow. You can come out and you can select that frequency to run every 5 or 15 minutes. And that way we're picking up whatever results out of NetSuite for the sales orders that need to go to the 3PL automatically every 5 or 15 minutes. Okay. You could even develop these flows as real-time flows, listening for sales order creation in NetSuite, that triggers the flow to run. So you have a couple different options. If I click into the flow for sales orders to the 3PL, you'll see how this flow is designed. And this is very easy to create. We can help create these for you, with you. We also have partners that can assist. But again, it's easy enough for a business user to go in here and create the source. So simply put, you can come out here and click on + for the source. You'll be presented with a list of pre-built database connectors that we come across quite often or our customers integrate, whether it's SQL, on-premise, or hosted. Snowflake's pretty common and gaining popularity. So if you're using Snowflake as your data warehouse, we can extract data from Snowflake. The pre-built universal connectors allow you to connect to any trading partner, Edifact, X12, CSV, XML files, JSON files, you name it. We can send data files to and fro via AS2, FTP. We have a GraphQL API connector, right, for your mutations or queries that you would like to call out to, say, Shopify storefront API. The HTTP adapter here, that's going to allow you to connect to really any API, whether it's RESTful or SOAP. Okay? But if you scroll down, you'll see that we have a lot of pre-built connectors. So if you're trying to tie into a system like NetSuite, right, we're going to have a pre-built connector for NetSuite. Or if you're trying to connect to Shopify, right, we have a pre-built connector for Shopify that makes it very easy to add new stores within just seconds. As long as you have the appropriate tokens, you'll be off to the races with Shopify within a matter of maybe minutes. It could be seconds, depends how often or how many stores you're adding. All right. So just want to point out all the pre-built database connectors, the trading partner connectors, as well as those application connectors that we have. And that list is constantly evolving and growing. But as you can see, we've already defined the source with NetSuite. We want to pick up NetSuite sales orders that have been approved, and we want to send it to the 3PL. So if I click into this export step that was configured, I'm simply pulling a save search, right? The results from the save search will be rendered here as a preview, so you can take a look at how that search will be rendered as a JSON object. But this is your NetSuite save search data with those columns, just in a different format, all right? So the source, the export has been defined. So I'm getting the sales order data, and I've also added a step here to look up additional information in Shopify. So I'm getting the order data from NetSuite, but if you ever needed to look at a different system to extract additional information, perhaps like maybe Salesforce would have been a better suggestion or an idea here, because Salesforce has all your customer data perhaps. So you can get the orders from NetSuite, get the customer data from Salesforce, or get the transactional detail from Shopify, and then have all of that data as a source go to the appropriate 3PL. Now in this case, I think I have 2 3PLs. Yep. One 3PL uses a system called 3PL Central, where we have a direct API connection. So we can do an API style exchange of data with this WMS, known as 3PL Central. So we can create orders in the WMS for quicker fulfillment. Again, this is happening automatically. So that order in NetSuite has already gone out to the 3PL. Okay. This can also be set up with EDI or a CSV file via FTP. So it doesn't have to be an API connection. We can pick up the data from NetSuite, translate it to a CSV, and send it off to an FTP directory or an AS2 3PL. Right? Or perhaps you're working with a dropship vendor that you need to send dropship vendor POs to. This would support that example as well. So we can take the vendor POs out of NetSuite, send it to the dropship supplier, whether it's an API, maybe it's a custom API that they've built for you. Maybe they use NetSuite. You can put data directly into their NetSuite if they're okay with that. The sky's the limit. multiple ERPs can be configured, but we're focusing on NetSuite here today. All right. Once the order goes out to the 3PL, we're also able to update the sales order in NetSuite that it has been picked up and sent to the 3PL and it's waiting or pending fulfillment. Okay. Now, because I don't have an actual 3PL relationship here, and this is a demonstration, I'm going to go in and manually create the fulfillment in NetSuite, but rest assured, most of these 3PLs you work with will have automation or some way to automate that fulfillment capture. Okay, so the 3PL central system here in this example will automatically push out fulfillment detail, and we can capture that information via API and create item fulfillments in NetSuite against the sales order. Right? And then there's another example here of another endpoint being added where Slack is being notified. So internally we use Slack, and now Slack's channel for fulfillments is getting an update, right? It's getting a message saying this order has been fulfilled. Right. If you have Teams, you can do the same thing with Microsoft Teams. That would be another endpoint or application that you could wire into a single flow. All right, so this next step that I'm performing, it will likely not be manual. I'm just going to come in and click fulfill. Now, if you were fulfilling this order out of your own warehouse and you use NetSuite fulfillments, then this is your process. But if the 3PL fulfilled it, or if ShipStation fulfilled it, or any kind of shipping software that we can connect to fulfills the order, we'll go ahead and mark it as shipped. We'll set the location. Any information required by NetSuite, we can populate. We can throw this tracking number in there, or multiple tracking numbers. Sometimes it's required to indicate what items are in each pack, right? We can also set up an integration for that as well. All right, we'll just say this as shipped, not necessary. There we go. So this was shipped by the 3PL, it shipped, we'll save it. And then I'll run a flow just so you can see some data moving with this flow. Again, you wouldn't need to click the button that I'm going to press today. This would be set up in an automated fashion. I'm going to go out to the platform. We're going to go back to the integration app for Shopify to NetSuite, and then we're going to show you the different options for fulfillments. Click into the integration app, select my store, go to fulfillment, and you're seeing two fulfillment flows. As I mentioned earlier, you could have a 3PL that's set up in your Shopify and their system's fulfilling orders in Shopify directly. That's completely fine. We have a flow to take those Shopify fulfillments to create that NetSuite item fulfillment for you. Okay. And then the NetSuite fulfillment wouldn't need to go to Shopify because it's already fulfilled in Shopify. This flow is going to pick up the details from NetSuite as to what was fulfilled. And this is using the new fulfillment order object, or newer, I should say, in Shopify. And so this has already been updated with all the changes that Shopify is making to their fulfillment API. Okay. And what you can do here is set the schedule up to run every 5 minutes or every 15 minutes. Again, up to you. Every hour of every day, at the end of every day at 10 o'clock. You can automate it, or you can come in and click play, and you can run that on demand. And you're seeing below the steps that it's going through. And think of this happening automatically, pulling hundreds of fulfillments at a time, right? We're getting that order fulfillment from NetSuite. So as long as that fulfillment meets the criteria of that safe search, you're going to see that fulfillment. Well, it already did it a little too quick, but this is the order that was fulfilled, based on the information that I inputted into NetSuite manually, right? So it went a little too fast, which is, in real life, that's not a problem, right? That's a good problem to have, I would say. But this is the example of how a fulfillment would be pushed forward to Shopify from NetSuite in a manual fashion. All right, a couple more things to cover. Once the order has been fulfilled, likely it'll be in that pending billing status. All right. Now, depending on how you set up the order flow, you can have customer deposits created automatically with the sales order. So if payment was captured at the time of sale in Shopify, you could have the sales order and the customer deposit created in NetSuite automatically. And then the pending billing status will help create an invoice, and then the automatically customer deposit and the invoice go together. If you were working with cash sales, you can have this converted automatically to a cash sale. So in the integration app, we go back. There is a billing section. In the billing section, you will see a couple different flows that are NetSuite to NetSuite flows. So NetSuite sales order to NetSuite cash sale, NetSuite sales order to NetSuite invoice. You can have these flows automatically run based on the status in NetSuite for that order. If it's pending billing, right? Those flows would automatically create that cash sale or invoice for you. So those are NetSuite to NetSuite flows, I should say. And I bring this to your attention because with Shopify Pay or PayPal or Amazon Pay, right, we would like to reconcile those billing transactions for you automatically. So not only are we going to create those billing transactions for you, but we'll also move those to a deposit record based on the data coming in from Shopify or PayPal or Amazon Pay. All right. We'll focus today on the payout flow for Shopify. So I'm gonna come in here and click on the payout section. And there's really one flow that you would schedule here. And most customers would schedule this at the end of the day, right? So you can come out here and you could use the cron expression to get it down every 5 minutes. But this type of flow, you'd probably want maybe once a day, twice a day at the most. It's really up to you and your volume. You can control the days of the week and the time that this would run. What the flow is going to do when it runs, it's going to go out to Shopify. It's going to fetch that payout data, right? Shopify payout data is extracted, brought into NetSuite as some custom records, summarizing the data. Then it's going to go back out to Shopify and get the transactional level detail. All right. With that transactional detail of what Shopify is paying out to your bank account, we're going to automatically make that deposit record. Okay. So by making this deposit record, we're going to move billing transactions, customer deposits, customer refunds, cash sales, cash refunds to the deposit record by matching the ID of that transaction that Shopify indicated, as well as the amount. So in NetSuite, the results are going to look something like this, where we're automatically going to set the bank account based on the settings that I forgot to show you. But you have some basic settings within that payout integration. Okay, you have a bank account you set, so you just control what bank that you'd like to reference on the deposit record. And then we're going to go through and we're going to check off any transaction that has a matching transaction ID and a dollar amount. If a match is made, the check will be made on that deposit. So let me edit this and show you what I mean, because you're not seeing those little check boxes right now. Every time that payout flow runs, you can see up to 2,000 of these transaction lines move to this deposit. Right, that's pretty significant volume. Usually see a couple hundred a day, but it could be thousands, right, during the busy seasons. But we'll go down and we'll look into the list of transactions. We're going to look for transaction IDs, dollar amounts, and automatically check the box here for you. And get this holds up to 2,000 transaction lines. If a mismatch occurs, excuse my mouth, if a mismatch occurs, you'll see some custom records created associated to the deposit. So if Shopify is telling you, hey, we paid out this transaction, but in NetSuite, we couldn't find that transaction, you'll see a custom record like this showing you that, hey, we're missing the transaction in NetSuite. Perhaps someone went in and deleted that sale or that refund, depending on what it is. In this example, we found the transaction in NetSuite. We located that cash sale, but there was an $8 difference in the amounts. So we threw a mismatch. So we did not check the box in the list here. All right, and we created that custom record. So you're tracking the discrepancies rather than the entire payout, which is pretty slick. All right, so it's really just a managed by exception model. Automate all of your flows from customers, orders, fulfillments, going out to the 3PL or going from Shopify back into NetSuite. You'll get the billing transactions automated. You'll also have payout to reconciliation to take advantage of. And if there is a need to integrate your Amazon Pay or your PayPal transactions, we have a separate tile for some other gateways that you'll see, like Amazon Pay, Authorize.net, Stripe, Braintree, PayPal. All right, there might be another one out there I forgot the name of. All right. And that's pretty much it for payout to reconciliation. I believe that covered the demonstration. We didn't cover everything within the Shopify NetSuite integration app. They're product syncing, inventory syncing, treating NetSuite as a source of truth with all of your inventory quantity availability by location. You can have that all reported to Shopify. So Shopify is showing accurate numbers. You can also set up the inventory integrations with the 3PL between NetSuite and 3PL so that your inventory is actually accurate when you report it to Shopify. So we look forward to working with you in the future. If you have any questions, feel free to enter those in the Q&A pod. I think we have a couple already. And you can also reach out to us for an additional demonstration that's a little more in-depth and tailored to your needs. So thank you very much.
Hey, James, I was going to save the questions for the end of the session, but we have some, related to the demonstration. So I will just read a few of them to you. So can you show a foreign transaction coming into NetSuite with Shopify Markets?
Yes. So with Shopify Markets, we have a new integration edition where you can actually, this is already enhanced and upgraded with Shopify Markets. The order is going to look the same. It's really the matter of which currency and dollar amount to reference on the transaction. If we go out to that store again, and we take a look at the general settings, notice here we have a sync records in local currency Boolean or checkbox. You can check out the little question mark. It'll tell you what it's going to do. This is going to create the same sales order that we just saw, but it's going to bring in the local currency or the presentment currency from Shopify Markets. That way you're seeing the price that the customer paid rather than the Shopify base currency. Because in Shopify, you have a shop currency, which is kind of your base currency, and then you have a presentment currency. So for every order, every refund, you will have two different currencies. This will allow you to bring in that local currency. So the order will look very similar to what we showed you here, right? But if this was a Canadian order, this would be the Canadian dollar amount rather than the USD. So the order should look the same. It's really just what amounts we're using to populate for not only sales order creation, but also refund creation as well. Another thing to take note of within the Shopify Markets, I know we didn't touch on product syncing, but we do see NetSuite as a source of truth for product syncing. So NetSuite item goes to Shopify. You can even control the price, right? So you do have one base price you can set here, but if you scroll down a little bit, you'll be able to see that we have the ability of synchronizing NetSuite currencies and price levels with specific markets. So here you would see those markets in Shopify that you can select from, and then you would be able to select the NetSuite currency and price level to associate it with. This will take all of the pricing from NetSuite and it could update, let's say you sold product to US, Canada, and Mexico. It's one item record in NetSuite. This will take the item record information and update Shopify Markets. Each market price list will be updated with its appropriate price from NetSuite. So that's pretty slick. So hopefully that answered your question. If you have more questions about that, let us know.
Yeah, so I'll just read out one more and then we can take also some questions at the very end. So the question is, can we talk through the high-level options for refunding in Shopify and capturing in NetSuite or vice versa?
Yeah, absolutely. So with refunds and cancellations, similar to how orders and fulfillments work, they operate in a bi-directional fashion. So if you want to have customer service, create the refund in NetSuite and have that go to Shopify, perfect. If you want the Shopify refund to go to NetSuite, you'll have a separate set of options here for Shopify to NetSuite settings. So which refund account, refund payment account, locations, and then the flows there's just two flows, but this would be the flow that you would run. And this is going to take the Shopify refund information and it's going to create either a cash refund, depends on your billing transaction. Because if you created a cash sale as a billing transaction, we'll create a cash refund. But if you created a customer deposit with an invoice, we'll know that. We'll create, we're going to create the credit here in NetSuite and then issue a customer refund in this step. So it is a conditional flow, but essentially this would be what it would look like. So you can go out here and you could do a refund in Shopify, no problem. All right, we'll just add those there. We'll do a refund. And then that flow would automatically trigger based on the time that you scheduled. I didn't test this. It's always fun to do things on live demonstrations, but if you wanted to run the flow on demand, you most certainly could do that. right? You can hit run, and then it would run and it would create that refund for you in NetSuite. Again, I had just set the store up. I haven't tested any refunds really. I changed some settings, but if you did run this, it would run, right? So it's going to get the refund from Shopify. You'll see that as a success, and then it'll go out and create that cash refund in NetSuite for you. So that's that.